welcome everybody to the CFF List special finals edition of our guest draft pickers. We've got Jared Palmgren back going against Dwight Peebles in our final matchup to see who the best waiver advice comes from. It's week 12. Most of you have started the playoffs. I'm here to tell you, after doing my homework, still plenty of options if somebody's injured or on a bye, because there's a few of those hanging out there. We've still got guys that can fill those roster spots. But first, we'd like to just give a big thanks. It's not easy making a lot of time. Jared and Dwight both create a lot of their own content, and to have them come back 3 times, I feel like we're pushing a little bit here. But they've been gracious enough to come back and compete head to head in the Week 12 waiver watch draft. So really appreciate you guys. Thanks, Jared and Dwight, for joining us. One final round here.
Glad to always be back on. And, as I'm thinking about this is basically a free advertisement for Campus to Canton because, like you said, we're the 2 best waiver advice columnists, apparently, and both of us write the waiver column for Campus to Canton. Whenever I'm not available, Dwight's always stepping in to take that on, and boom, here we are, both of us here at the finals.
Right. I assume by now everybody knows who you guys are, but again, Jared and Dwight are both over at Campus to Canton. They do an incredible job of boosting the hobby from, they're taking your players from the college ranks into the NFL ranks, but really, emphasizing that college side of it and helping it grow. Dwight's also over there with the DynastyNerds. Jared has his own podcast, Chasing the Natty. So again, these guys are putting in a lot of time. So to even steal 40 or 50 minutes of their time is greatly appreciated. Dwight, how you feeling going into this week?
I'm nervous. I mean, I know that I've had good scores, but Jared's like my Jedi master, and I am the Padawan. But I'm happy to see you're not in a box truck this time, so that's good.
Oh, yeah. And what's funny, last week I was in a car also with the Jared draft, with the Jared semi-final round draft. This is my first time recording from home in a month. So, I'm happy to be here. I've got a little, all the boys represented the back. What game stood out to you guys real quick last night? Did any of the 3 of you stay up till 2 a.m. watching the instant classic Utah BYU game?
I didn't watch that one. I was actually paying more attention to the Wazoo Utah State game because I just knew that had points galore and CFF implications all over the place. Right. As we were kind of talking before the show, J Mill, I got John Mateer everywhere in my leagues, and so I was behind in a couple of leagues, and I had Mateer left, and I'm just sitting here like, all right, baby, work your magic. Here we go.
Yep. And he did.
But obviously my dog's getting the dog crap whipped out of them yesterday by Ole Miss stood out to me, but we don't have to discuss that anymore.
Right. And speaking of, results, congrats to both of you also. Another, we really should feel honored here. You both made the playoffs in the Kings Classic. Dwight, you backed your way in there. You snuck in the back door after a really hot start and a little bit of a slide that you weren't too happy with. You still made it in. So good job, guys. Jared, I think, got the top seed. Dwight, you're going to have to work a little harder.
Yeah, I actually went to bed thinking I was out. I didn't even look at the scores. I didn't realize I had 4 more points than CFF guys. I mean, it was so freaking close at the end. So I actually thought I was out when I went to bed. So I was pleasantly surprised when I woke up in the morning.
Yeah, that's a fun one. We were talking beforehand about how we've done overall this season, and we didn't quite make the mark there, and we got to rebound a little bit next year. I think Willie's going to show up in person to give me some extra draft support to bring us back to where we were in year 1. But with that said, we got some drafting to do, so let's do a quick recap. Jared, you conquered us all in week 11 with your 111 points. Willie B, what was your stat? What's the stat? You had 106 this week, but what's your 100-mark stat now that you were saying?
No, we were saying before, you were saying how it was really, really difficult to get over that 100 mark. And so I was just kind of jokingly saying, is it really that hard? Since, I've had over 104 of the last 6 weeks. So okay. That's all that was.
Not bad. So, along with Jared and Dwight, I think Willie B and I, we pull our weight here. I think the guests have outscored us this year. I think the guests are averaging 90 points, if I'm not mistaken, and we're averaging about 84, 85, something along those lines. So we've kind of done a reversal of last year's results. But overall, we shoot for 90 points. We feel like that's a good target to get a respectable lineup. Willie B and Jared both got over 100, which I think this late in the season is really a nice accomplishment. I got 88 or close to it if you round up. We all three were kind of anchored by one big game. I had Braden Bennett from Coastal, who continues to be a touchdown machine. Willie had ECU's latest QB1 phenom, Caton Hauser, and then Eli Sanders just reeled off another extremely big game for Jared and got him 32 points. The risk he took was in Dylan Risk. I didn't see that game, Jared. Did you see it? I saw two quarterbacks had stats, but it looked like he had enough throws that like they weren't playing both of the quarterbacks kind of equally, but it looks like he just didn't get any touchdowns and might have had a few turnovers or something. But did you see is that what really hurt Risk there?
I mean, obviously, whenever you're playing with a touchdown machine like RJ Harvey, that's always going to hurt you a little bit unless you're throwing him the touchdowns, which I'm totally fine if UCF wants to get him touchdowns through that way. But like you said, a little bit is them still trying to play kind of both quarterbacks here. I think they're trying to make sure that Ja'Cory Brown doesn't transfer out again next year. They're gonna make it a legit competition between him and Risk this offseason, but they're trying to get him to buy in. They know that their season's pretty much done. They'll get a bowl game somewhere here, but like they're not really competing for anything like monstrous at this point. So they're just trying to see what works, who kind of catches fire towards the end of the season. Maybe they don't have a problem if it costs them a game at this point, because like who cares?
Right.
What's the UCF at? What, 4-7 now or something, or 4-10, 6, something like that.
It's bad enough. That's for sure.
Bad
exactly.
Enough. Yeah, but Jared, you weren't. Let's not put it all on Sanders. You had a 29-point performance from Jordan Tyson from Arizona State. Dwight had actually mentioned him a couple weeks ago as somebody to watch out for. Apparently, Jared was listening and took him this week. And then if you can get 13 from a pickup tight end this late in the season, which you did from Taylor Thompson, that's still great advice there. So you had three really solid performances there, and then I would call adequate turnouts from Chalk and Davis at the running back spot. You really only missed at the quarterback spot. Same for Willie. He only had one what we would call a miss, which was his tight end Landon Morris. Just pulled out 2 points, but he got 20 or almost 20. He got 19.3 from Petaway at JMU. Wisner doesn't seem to have a huge ceiling, but his floor is pretty steady right now. He got the 14.9 and has seemed to be consistently hitting around that mark. And then Cameron Shanks came back to earth after a 40-plus point game the week before to get 13 this week. And then Hauser just seems to be spreading it around to too many people. So Sal only picked up 12. But, again, Willie really, had another good one, with Hauser leading the way with 45. I had a couple misses. Elijah Young, just not enough consistent carries. He's available this week. I will not be taking him. And I don't know where Chris Hudson went, but I'm done with him also. These guys kept me from getting to 100. I thought I had the 100 mark easily in my sights before those two, didn't finish strong for me. So, all right.
Wazoo wide receivers, man. Like I want to go after them, but like it's been very much receiver by committee over there. Maybe outside of Williams, who's just been kind of the main touchdown target.
Right. So. We'll be avoiding him again this week also. So Willie, let's get the draft board up, and good luck to you guys. I've got the first pick. Jared's up second. Willie B is in the 3 spot, and Dwight will have the only back-to-back picks of this draft. But I will get it started here. I'm going to go with the guy that led Jared's squad this week, and that is none other than Eli Sanders from New Mexico. Believe he's up to 21% at this point. He has an incredibly good matchup against San Diego State, who is 106th against the run defense. Throw out the fact that he's 15.6 points per game and look at his last 5, where he's averaging 24.1, including back-to-back games over 30. Not going to promise he'll get to 30 again, but I will guarantee the 21-plus points from Eli Sanders as he keeps it rolling for New Mexico.
Quick little correction there, J Mill. He faced San Diego State last week. This week he's got Wazoo, which is still a great matchup, right? Okay. That's even though Wazoo is technically, Power 4 team, they're top 25, right? Okay. They are 106 in the country in defensive team performance against the run, according to numbers of C2C winning edge. So they've been getting up plenty on the ground. Eli Sanders should have himself another nice day. So
all right, yeah, I see that 82nd against the run. So okay, I would have still taken him in that scenario. Also, not quite as good as that's what I get for cutting and pasting from last week's notes. I didn't correct all of them, but okay. All right, with that, I will quickly move it on to Jared so I can get myself in order over here.
No, Eli Sanders is a good pick. I was debating between Eli Sanders and another player here because I didn't really know how I wanted to do here with the second pick, and now you've made it easy for me, J-Mill, because to me, Eli Sanders is like the best overall player. Like if I just want to go for points, that's who I would go for. But in terms of wide receivers to pick up off the waiver wire this week, I think there's like 2 to 3 good options, and then the rest you're really taking some flyers potentially. And so I think I'm going to go ahead and try to target that position here a little bit early, even though there are technically some running backs and quarterbacks I think will probably score more for me. Mm-hmm. I just think that I will be struggling to find some greater wide receiver options later. So I'm going to go with True Edwards here, wide receiver out of Louisiana Tech, rostered on 23% of leagues. He's going up against Western Kentucky this week. This dude has been exactly what you want in a CFF wide receiver here. He has had 7+ targets in each of his last 4 games. He's had 12 plus targets in 2 of his last 4 games, double touchdowns in 2 of his last 4 games. I'd like to see that a little bit more consistent, maybe even spread out a little bit over, but in a full PPR format right here, I'm going after volume here. He's had 80+ yards in each of his last 3 of his last 4 games, 6+ receptions in each of his last 4 games. I think he'll provide you a very, very safe floor at wide receiver this week. If you're looking for a guy that you can just pick up off the waiver wire, plug him into a week 12 matchup, especially if you got a bunch of guys on bye, I think will help you out.
Yeah, very similar to kind of what I was mentioning about Sanders. He's averaging 17.6 a game, but in his last 5, that's at 23. So he's seen a big jump in the second half of the season. Was definitely on my list. I like it. Willie, who you got in with the third pick here?
Yeah, I mean, a little surprising. I mean, this guy, I was just going to take him number 1 regardless, only because you were saying in the pre, J Mill and I, we kind of have a little different competition here because if I win this week, there's no reason for us to have a final. I'll have the 2-game lead. So I'm just I've been hyping this guy for a few weeks now. And I expect him against a Tulsa team. He's had 5 touchdowns in each in his last 2 games. I expect him to have another 5 against a lowly Tulsa, and that's going to be Caden Hauser from ECU. And he is still 12% rostered.
Yeah, that's
which he could easily win you a couple of championships if he keeps it up. Because next week. After Tulsa, they have North Texas. So,
see, Willie, I understand where you're at, man. Again, like you said, he's been a monster the last couple of weeks here. My only thing is, again, like I just mentioned, with my pick, I was going for positional value, right? Like I don't trust the wide receivers that can come back to me after Dwight picks twice. It comes back to you or J-Mill. I can't remember what order we go after Dwight. But regardless, there's other quarterbacks here that I do like this week in terms of just their matchup for this week. Now, Hauser is a guy of their playoff matchups. Am I back? Did y'all lose me?
Yep, there you go.
Second.
Okay, cool. Where did I leave off at?
Just the matchups for Hauser. What were you saying?
Oh, just all 3 of his matchups in the playoff are absolutely fantastic, right? Like I don't think he faces a secondary that can't be carved up like Swiss cheese.
Right.
Agreed. All right. Well, Willie wanted to go back to the well. He's done that. Let's see what happens.
Okay, Dwight. He's going to have his back-to-backs here.
Yep.
Yeah, Jared took my wide receiver 1. That's kind of who I was hoping to get, but I'll take a good consolation prize. I'll take Ryan Davis from New Mexico. I just think that game is going to be like a 45-42 game. New Mexico is going to have to throw to keep up with Wazoo, and he had a kind of a down week this week, but he's been proven to get targets week in and week out otherwise. But last week, Keene's script was kind of a little bit different, so they're not going to be able to not throw to stay in this game, and or even if it gets 35-0, they're going to throw to try to get some garbage time. So I think Davis is in for a monster week this week. So.
My only concern is that they despite better judgment, they are trying to play Wysong right now, even though I think he probably should have sat for another week.
Right.
So like that, and as we saw, as soon as Wysong comes back, that cuts Davis's targets pretty much in half. So like that's the only kind of worry I have about Davis. Otherwise, I agree with everything you said, Dwight.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be 50 targets to go around in that game. I think
yeah,
we'll be okay.
You're not wrong. You are not wrong.
Yeah. So this is kind of I'm gonna have some fun with this. I'm gonna take Isaiah Page from Old Dominion with my second pick. I know that James Madison has been kind of mean to passing attacks, and they kind of have shut some guys down. But Old Dominion's coming off a bye, and I think it's a lot different team now with drawing a blank at their quarterback, Colton
Joseph.
Yeah, there you go. So I think Page, he's got double-digit targets in 2 of his last 3 games before that, including 16 targets in Week 10. So I think they're going to have to throw once again to keep up with James Madison. James Madison has been a little tougher against the pass, but I'm just going to go with upside in this one. Take Isaiah Page and get my wide receivers locked up.
All right.
Yep, I like it. Let's see.
15. I like it.
Well, yeah.
All right. So now this is the one time we do the reversal here. So we're going to Willie B.
Okay. All right. So you guys are looking like you're going to lock up your receivers, which I do not mind. I'm going to go, let's see, I'll go a different route here. A name that is just popped up. Sorry. Sorry, everything is freezing up on me here.
We're all having our issues this morning.
Yeah, maybe Jared can give me my what I wanted to say here. But we're going to go running back here, from Miami. We're going to go Keon Mosey.
Yeah, good pick.
Sorry. They face this week Kent State, who is dead last in rushing defense. They give up 263 yards on the ground, and they give up 3 rushing touchdowns per game. So I expect Mosey to feast over them the last three games. 17.1, he had 12 and then 10.5. He's gone over 100 yards rushing in his last 4. And so with them being so bad and giving up the touchdowns, I expect his average to rise up a little bit as he reaches the end zone at least once.
This is why I'm glad I come onto this show sometimes, because I'll be real, I completely overlooked Mosey.
I did too.
Which is indictment on me, not on Willie. Like that's a great pick there. I completely forgot to look there, and I think part of it is, like you said, there just hasn't scored a lot of touchdowns. But how the hell do you not score touchdowns against Kent State?
Right.
Yeah, Kent State is actually first in the nation in will to want to play football. We talked about that the other day.
Dude, oh my God. No. Can I rant a little bit about Kent State? I am so pissed at that team. They have completely just given up on any kind of semblance of playing football. McCray, Floria, they need to get the hell out of there. Like, good Lord. There's no desire to have any possible willpower in that passing attack right now. And McCray was a monster. How do you not just force feed him all game long? I get it. You don't have a quarterback that can throw more than 5 yards down the field, but still, Christ.
Yeah, I just looked. They're 133rd in scoring on offense, and they're 134th last in the country in giving up points. So not a good combination to be the worst in both.
Yeah, but that's impressive, Dwight. I love that. Number one in the will to want to play. Wow. Okay.
There you go.
All right, Jared.
All right, yeah.
It's on me now. Let's see. I could lock up. You guys didn't pick the wide receivers that I was expecting you to, but that's fine. I can live with that.
Well, just only Dwight. Dwight didn't take nobody else took anybody.
Well, I mean, technically, you had the option to take a wide receiver.
Right.
But no, I think I'll go ahead and I'll lock up one of my running backs here. With Sanders off the board, I'm going to go with another MAC running back here. I'm going to go with Alj Henderson, the running back out of Buffalo.
Buffalo.
It's been a bit of a committee there for a good chunk of the season, but man, Henderson's really coming along as we kind of finish the season here, right? You got, 18 carries, 107 yards, and a touchdown against Akron a couple of weeks ago. 6 targets, 3 receptions, 22 yards. It's been very reminiscent of like just the volume he's been getting, anywhere from 12 to 18 carries. You're looking at, 4 to 6 targets in each of those games. He's involved everywhere he can. And the best part is he's got a freaking insane matchup this week against Ball State. We were talking about Kent State and their horrific defense. Man, Ball State ain't that much further ahead than them. And so they give up points to pretty much anybody who will step on a field. I think Alj Henderson could easily be in for possibly 2 touchdowns this week.
Yeah, no, he's I had a lot of asterisks by his name. Found him kind of late last night as an option, as I was trying to get at least out to 8 running backs that would be worthy, since I knew 8 were going to be taken, and kind of quickly put him in my top 4 out of the available. So I like that pick a lot. Yeah, he's playing Ball State too. A lot of really bad defenses in the MAC, so should have a field day.
All right, J-Mail.
All right, yeah, Jared. Let's see if my receiver was one of the ones on your list. Try to snipe you as it gets ready to come back your way. With a guy that I've been talking about for a couple of weeks now. Really like him again, and that's Jordan Napier from San Diego State going against UNLV, who is another one of those teams with a really bad defense, especially against the pass, 128. Also another one of those guys who's seen his points per game, take a nice jump up in the last few weeks. He's averaging 11.5 on the season, but in his last 4, he's gotten over 15 3 times. He had 16 targets this week, which really proves the point I've been making. He's definitely become the clear wide receiver 1 in terms of who they're trying to get the ball. They're also getting him, some end arounds, and he seems like the guy who's the athlete on San Diego State's team, that they just want to get as many touches as possible, which is always a good sign that he's a good explosive player that they feel like could break it on any play. He's also returning kicks, so San Diego State's trying to do everything they can to get this kid the ball. He's a redshirt freshman. If you can still grab him in dynasty leagues, do that immediately. But this week against UNLV, I think he could end up having his biggest game of the season, which would be great timing, for your playoffs and getting to the next round.
Problem is UNLV's actually decently stingy versus the pass, and I agree with you. In a dynasty format, Napier's a must grab. But in terms of redraft, I just don't know, based on everything we've seen this year, that we're just not getting the Sean Lewis system fully up and running this year, right? Whether it's because you have such a young quarterback at the helm, because he hasn't fully brought in his players, and we're only just now seeing Napier really emerge this late in the season. I think it'll be a big piece going forward, but I'm just not entirely sure that it'll fully manifest this year.
Yeah, and I guess what you're talking about, Jared, they're giving up 271 yards a game, but they're bending and not breaking. They're not giving up the touchdowns. I'm looking at seeing only 14 touchdowns. So, if you're not in a full PPR, maybe he's not as valuable. But I think if you're in a PPR, it doesn't even matter if he gets in the end zone. If they get him another 15 targets, and that turns into 8 to 10 catches, I think you'll be all right, even if he doesn't score for you this week.
No, that's a great point.
Yeah.
All right, so it's back to me now, right?
Yeah. Now we start just going in a regular order here.
Gotcha.
Confusing 4-man draft.
So I'm actually going to go ahead again. I'm going to given that it seems like that we're not all on the same mind with these wide receivers. I think I'm going to go ahead and grab my quarterback and see what I can get at wide receiver to fall back to me potentially. Willie, to me, in terms of value for this week, there are 2 quarterbacks that are absolutely incredible. You grabbed one of them in Caton Hauser. I'm going to grab the other one, Owen McCowan, quarterback out of UTSA, still underneath that 30% margin. He's going up against North Texas this week. holy crap, North Texas's defense is horrific. Yeah. And they are a shootout machine with everybody except for Army, who was literally the only reason why Army didn't put up 40 points last week was because, Bryson Daly is still hobbled, even though they're putting him out there, right? Like if it was a fully healthy Daly, that game would have gotten way uglier, way quicker. Owen McCowan, he has been phenomenal the last couple of weeks. UTSA really seems to have turned a corner here on offense. We have 2 straight 30-point games here from Owen McCowan in 4-point passing touchdown leagues. I forget, we are 4-point passing touchdowns. So regardless, like that's a nice floor here. And unless he's getting sacked a ton, McCowan is able to run the ball as well. So he kind of provides a nice kind of safe floor here. 4 touchdowns in each of his last couple of games, unless all of these running backs in this committee that UTSA employs start stealing all the touchdowns away from McCowan this week. I think McCowan's in for another potential 4-touchdown game here against, again, this horrific pass defense in North Texas.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the 2 top quarterbacks available have gone off the board. In hindsight, I probably should have grabbed him instead of Napier with my last pick, just to make sure I got one of the 2 I really, really like. But I do have 2 others that I like, just not quite as much as these 2. I think, the two top guys have been taken. But we'll see what Dwight thinks when he gets to his quarterback. I'll be curious too.
Yeah, he was number 2 on my list of quarterbacks for this week. So love that pick.
Dwight, did you get sniped there? I'm just curious.
I feel like a ding dong. I didn't even look. I just figured he was over 30%.
Oh yeah,
I didn't even look. Yeah. Why is he not?
It's a great question. Fantastic question.
What's wrong with you people out there? Come on.
Well, and honestly, I think one of the reasons might have been that they were off this week, and a lot of guys are just afraid to pick up guys going into a bye. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago with Joe that sometimes that's the best time to get a guy is when he's going into the bye before everybody else gets their hands on him. So sometimes people are they need a guy immediately and they'll pass up the guy going into the bye. So I think that's the only reason he might have stayed below 30 this last week.
Well, again, right? Again, you're this late in the season. You're most likely have the team that you want to take with you into the playoffs, right? So you are more hesitant to drop certain guys, right? Because these guys that have completely flopped, you got rid of them a long time ago,
right? And if you're in the playoffs, you've probably got a good set of quarterbacks to choose from, I would assume. So
agreed.
Yeah, but if you got a guy hurt. If you've got Daly, he's off this week. You're not going to have Daly, getting you 30 or 40 points from Army. So you go grab McCown if you can to replace Daly while he sits on a bye this week.
Mm-hmm. All right, Willie, who you got?
Yeah, I'm going running back again here, and this is a guy who's coming off bye. The last time we saw him against Coastal Carolina, he had 28 carries for 190 yards in the score, and that's Mr. Damian Taylor out of Troy. He is 9% rostered. And they have a pretty decent matchup this week against Georgia Southern.
You
threw me off there, Willie. I thought you were going a different route from the same team, but
I was thinking the exact same thing, and I don't fully blame Willie for going this direction, but.
Yeah, I wasn't looking at that person. We'll see if we can get the rare 2 running backs in the same waiver draft from the same team. We'll see what.
That's what I'm curious about as well, because probably one person's going to be right, one person's going to be wrong. It'll be fun to see who's got it.
Yeah, we did have the one week. I think that was a Dwight week where we had the 2 Army running backs and an Army quarterback taken in the same waiver draft, and they all performed and got over 20, I think, that week, which was pretty amazing.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. Or as Dwight liked to refer to the guy, West Point Yeezy was taken that week.
West Point Yeezy?
Yeah, Kanye Udo.
No, what did you say that again, Dwight?
Yeah, Kanye.
Yeah, West Point Yeezy. We said he should sell NIL shirts with that, Jared.
He should. It's a huge opportunity. Come on, man.
Yeah. All right. All right. Good job. You surprised Jared and I, Willie. We'll see how that goes. And
that's twice now, I think.
Yeah. You took 2. Maybe you didn't need to take those 2 guys because
maybe not
on his radar here.
Yeah.
I have a list. I'm sticking to the list.
Oh no, I'm the same way.
Yep. All right, go ahead, Dwight. Let's see what you got. You only get 1 this time. Then it's back to me.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna go back to this game. I'm gonna take George Pettaway from James Madison, just under that 30-point threshold. or 30 points. Sorry, 30%. What?
J-Mill, did you just say what I think you just said?
What do you say?
I didn't hear anything. What did you say?
No, I maybe I misheard him. I thought I heard J-Mill swear just now.
No.
No, Petaway's had a
I
couple
thought I got a full-on FU from J-Mill just now. I was like, whoa!
Jared's got ghosts. Yeah, I didn't hear anything. No.
No, after a couple really strong weeks, he gets involved in both facets of the game, and I want a lot of this game. I mean, it's going to be a fun game. Even if he doesn't get that many carries, he's liable to score 3 touchdowns just because I think it's just going to be a fun game to watch. It's one of them I definitely want to catch next week and want as many pieces as I can. So I'll take Petaway there, my first running back.
Right,
yeah, he was third on my list. I loved the matchup against Old Dominion.
Right.
So great pick.
All right. Well, I'm afraid I'll lose him, and I've got him quite a bit higher than the other guy. So I'm going to go with the guy we thought Willie B was going to take to fill out my running backs, and that's Gerald Green from Troy. The other running back rostered on less than 10% of teams for the same reasons Willie took Damian Taylor. He's going against Georgia Southern. They're giving up a lot of yards, and more importantly, we've seen a huge uptick in his carries and his role in the offense. Another guy where you throw out his points per game for the season, which is 9.7, and you look at the last 2 weeks where he's turned in 19 and 34. And he's another guy that if you can grab him, and it turns out this week is what we expect as far as him continuing to get those carries. He's got a pretty good schedule to, take you to the end too against Louisiana Lafayette and Southern Mississippi. So he's kind of a guy that, could fill the hole for the rest of your playoff run. Assuming Damian Taylor doesn't get back in the groove that Willie thinks he is. So we'll see what happens in this head-to-head Troy battle that we've got going on here.
That'll be extra incentive for both of you to watch that game.
Yeah. Well, as a side note, I'm really needing Georgia Southern to take a conference L so Marshall can still get back to winning that division. So I need a kind of a surprise defeat.
Does Sunbelt still do divisions?
Yeah, Sunbelt's still doing divisions this year.
How archaic.
Yeah. 2 years ago it was normal. Now it's old school. Old school football in the Sun Belt. All right,
archaic dinosaurs over there. Good Lord.
Yep. All right. So, Jared, back to you.
All right. The name that I am about to take, I am putting out there here in my waiver article and on my CTN show. Mm-hmm. This is a running back that is either going to win you your league during the playoffs, or he is going to be the reason why you lose it. There is going to be no in between with this man. And that is Dylan Carson, the running back out of Air Force.
Oh, right.
Remember this guy from way back in the preseason? We were all super excited about him being the super back here at Air Force. And then then Air Force is a big old mess throughout most of the season. Well, I don't know if anybody watched this game yesterday, but Air Force beat Fresno State, which was a shocker to me because I thought Fresno State was a pretty solid contender for the Mountain West, and now they're losing to Air Force, who has pretty much been on like a 6-7 game losing streak over there. Air Force seems to have figured something out this yesterday, and a lot of it had to do with Mr. Dylan Carson here getting 33 dang carries in this game.
Pretty crazy.
For 120 yards and a touchdown. Now, I don't love that efficiency. Don't get me wrong. They're still struggling there, but if he continues this, now this is a huge risk, obviously, because the week before, Carson got 4 carries. But we know that Air Force, once they find their super back, it can be absolute CFF gold. Look at this remaining schedule. They get Oregon State this week. So that's bottom 2 in the country versus the run. After that, they get Nevada. That's bottom 10 in the country versus the run. After that, you get San Diego State, which, Jane-Bill, you were talking about them earlier. They're bottom 30 in the country versus the run. If Air Force is smart, which I don't trust them to be, I do not like that coaching staff at all over there. But if they're smart and they keep this up with Carson here, they get him 33 carries in each of these next 3 games, you could be in for absolute gold.
Yeah.
And it is a guy that is completely flying under the radar right now because I don't think anybody really watched this game. So I'm going to be beating the drum for Carson this week in terms of if you want to take the risk in your leagues, this is the guy to do it with.
Yeah. That's funny you mentioned him, Jared, because he was in one of my dynasty leagues. Can't remember if it was BTR or not. Like he's sitting in the waiver uh, as a cut right now. So I've got to get him out of there now, just based on what happened. To see what happens this next week, because he's doing. This week was the one week he did exactly what we thought he'd do all season, based on how he finished last year, and he's had 4, 5, 3 carries,
Yeah.
different games. It makes me wonder, was he hurt, or did they just pull their heads out of their butts and realize, like, hey, if we're going to win, this is our guy we're going to win with? It was really weird what happened this week. When you go from 4 to 29 carries, there's something strange going on.
Yeah, I started to type them in. I'm like, no, I can't take that risk.
Right.
I'm taking the risk. I'm going big or going home here. Like this is if I lose because of taking the risk here, I'll take it. I'll handle it.
Yeah, that's a fun one. I like that one, but I seriously need to go retract a pending waiver for tomorrow, because I was getting rid of Carson like as of last Friday.
Oops.
So I've got to change that now.
Yeah.
So, all right, Willie, what are you going to follow that up with? You got anything fun for us?
I don't know about fun. It kind of does kind of throw you off a little bit, but I am. I was going to just stick with it.
Okay.
This guy may not find the end zone this week, but he's definitely going to get his targets. He has 33 targets over the last 2 games, and that's Mr. Demir Miller from Rutgers.
Oh yeah,
Good call.
There you go.
They go to Maryland, whose Fantrax has them as 131st against wide receivers or passing, however they categorize it.
Yep.
But we're going to take that chance with Demir Miller, and he is 3% rostered. His last 3 games, 12 points. He had 24.1 against USC, and then against Minnesota, 22.8. So,
I think Miller's ceiling here really depends on what happens with Kyle Monangai, right? Like if Monangai is out for another week here, right? One, already Maryland's actually pretty solid versus the run. They're top 25 against the run according to our numbers at C2C winning edge. But their pass defense is 100 plus. So if Rutgers is without Monangai and they struggle to run, they're going to have to rely on Miller. And like you said, Willie, I'm not sure that he finds the end zone, but I think there's much worse people that you could throw out there as a waiver option for this week.
Yeah, and as a guy that kind of puts that game on the big screen because of the history here, he's the real deal too. He's very athletic. He goes up and snatches pass. He's not just getting swing passes out of the backfield or little short slants. Like he's going up and getting up and over guys to get the ball. So he's an athletic guy that they've been needing at Rutgers for a long, long time.
Let's also not forget that Kirk Soraka is the same OC that gave us the likes of like Tyler Johnson, Rashad Bateman, and those guys, right? Like once he finds his top guy, and it clearly, like you said, he's got 33 targets over the last 2 games. Right. Clearly, this is probably their top guy.
Yeah.
And I hope he goes back to and has the yardage, like he did against SC, the 131. 5 catches for 58 yards yesterday off of the 13 targets. But really just, put the ball on him, let's a little bit better, and let's get those, let's get those catches up into the double digits. That's what we're looking for.
Well, you got a good reaction from the whole crew here, so we liked it.
Yeah. All right. Mr. Dwight, you're up.
My boy Clarence Carter's over 30% now. Do you guys see that? I like it.
Yeah.
Finally.
So I can't be singing about him today. I'm gonna go tight end though, just because I like. I could wait on my running back now. There's one that I really love here.
I'm gonna go with an amateur move to take your running back now. That's right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I'm gonna take Houston Thomas from UTSA.
Oh, you won't let me have that stack?
I want that. I want it, baby. I want every bit of that game I can get. And so yeah, he's had a couple games with 6 targets. So I just want every part of that offense, and there's not many tight ends that I like this week. I mean,
that is.
I was struggling to find 2 or 3 names that I really like this week. So
yeah,
that was
Houston.
Absolutely rude, Dwight. Absolutely rude taking that stack from me. How
there's
dare
still part
you?
of the stack available there.
Yeah. And there were 3 or 4 good ones. I'm curious to see how the rest of those tight ends play out here, but yeah, I think. Now we've got the second team that we've doubled up on, so I think there are going to be more.
Probably,
Yeah. It's coming back to me, so I'll make sure that there's more of that. I'll go ahead and fill in the one that I like from that matchup, which is a guy I had a couple weeks ago and didn't let me down, which is our guy Chris Carpenter from UTSA. Gave me 15.7 2 weeks ago. He had a bye. He's another guy that I think has really seen his stock rise on the back half of the season. He's getting 9 to 10 targets every game. And again, you've heard Jared say it. You've heard Dwight say it. We expect UTSA to run it up on the offensive side here against North Texas. So let me get a piece of that action. I'll take Chris Carpenter.
Yeah, he's a guy that I like to he's one of those guys that's just going to get you 15, 20 points,
Yep.
Regardless, at least.
Right. He may not have that ceiling. You're right. Yeah.
Maybe there's maybe there's a ceiling in there somewhere, but yeah, I like a solid 15 points sometimes is hard to beat. So.
And it makes it easy for me to cut and paste the logos this way.
Wow.
That's why you did
that is our ultimate goal when we come on the show, J-Mo, is to make your job as easy as possible.
Give me less work. All right. Names, I do the logos. For those who didn't know. Right.
I'm gonna go ahead and take my other wide receiver here. This is kind of the last guy among the big three that I had. Very similar actually to Chris Carpenter, who if I remember to put him on my list, he'd probably be in my top 4. But another guy that is, he has this unfortunate habit of not scoring touchdowns, but his production has been very solid over the last couple of weeks, and he is an absolute deep threat. You're talking about averaging 32.3, 23.3, and 25.6 yards per catch in each of his last 3 games. Mm-hmm. Justin Lockhart, wide receiver out of San Jose State. Again, like I said, hasn't scored touchdowns, but you're looking at 129 yards, 93 yards, 128 yards. They've really figured something out with him there on the boundary, obviously making a very, very solid combo with Nick Nash there. Clearly the top 2 guys in this offense. Like Lockhart's still not anywhere close to what Nick Nash is doing, right? Nash is going to score every touchdown under the sun. But, if you're in a PPR league like we are here, like you're looking at 17, 18 points last week. The week before that, 13, obviously not great. But then the week before that, 16. That's without him scoring any touchdowns. So he's providing a really, really nice safe floor here. So I'm going to roll with him for this week, especially against, who are they facing? They're facing Boise. Yeah, Boise. That's the secondary they can take advantage of, I hope.
Yep. Yeah. That's funny you mentioned him in comparison to Chris Carpenter because I had him very similar kind of guys in terms of the steadiness. My note for Lockhart was just consistent. Like, you're gonna get what you're gonna get. You're gonna get that 13 or 14 points no matter what. If he can get you 18 or 19, you're getting a bonus. You don't expect 30 like you get from Nash, but like he's gonna get you that steady 15 to 20 points almost no matter what.
Right. I've picked him at least once or twice, and been talking him up. So I definitely love the pick.
All right. Willie,
I'm going tight end
here.
Yeah, we're going tight end here, and this is just the safest person to take here at tight end, and that's going to be Taylor Thompson. He's still under 30 somehow, barely at 29%. And they, JMU, they have Old Dominion. Yep. Which we talked about. Yeah, we talked about earlier. But he scored 3 of the last 4 games. That's what you're looking for in the tight end position, at least to get you in double digits.
We could say that he won Jared the game last week in the waiver draft.
I would say, yeah, he did.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. That 13.2, that put it over.
Like I said, it's hard to find a double-digit tight end this late in the season that's going to do it pretty consistently. So that's a good one. All right, I guess we'll go quarterback here, Dwight. Who do you got here?
Yes, I got to. There
were several teams. That also leaves me with the stack that I wanted. So I do love that. So
all right, we'll see. Okay. All right, I see where you're going here. Maybe.
There's a couple really solid guys. Solid. Go ahead, Jared. What?
I was going to say we got a coin flip on which ECU wide receiver Willie's going to take.
And I know he had one last week, so that's why I didn't say no. I don't know because he might change. He might be upset with the one he had last week and turn to another. So okay, go ahead. Sorry.
All right, I'll go with Parker Navarro from Miami.
Okay.
The game script last week, obviously they were playing Kent State. They didn't have to do a whole lot, so you had kind of a quieter game. But Eastern Michigan is not going to be that quiet of a game. They can score some points. Should just be a good, fun matchup. I had a couple other guys I also thought about. Gabbert. Oh, oops, sorry. Not naming it. Oh, you only got one left, so whatever. So I thought of Gabbert too because of the the matchup with Kent State. But I'll go with Navarro just because I think it's going to be a little more scoring in this game. So.
Right. It's going against Eastern Michigan. Yeah.
We're left.
Okay. Yeah, he was solid for me last week. Not exactly what I wanted.
The game got squirrely really quick. So.
yeah. I guess obviously I can wait, so I'll grab my tight end. Let's put another team in the mix here with multiple players for good reasons. I'll take the tight end, who's actually kind of a cheat tight end move here. I'll go with KJ Duff from Rutgers. If I had to play him at wide receiver, I probably wouldn't. But as a tight end, which he's allowed on Fantrax for right now, maybe not next year, but for right now, he's averaging basically 10 points over the last 3 games. And that's because they had a couple other tight ends get hurt kind of midway through the season and they're out for the season, which, gave him a much bigger role here in the offense. And again, even though he's listed at both on Fantrax, he is playing a little more of a slot role there, wide receiver, tight end, maybe flexed out, whatever you want to consider it. But either way, it's a little bit of the cheat code. And I'll take it this week against that bad Maryland pass defense that we've already talked about.
All right. I have to take a tight end, obviously. I am shocked that 3 of my 4 tight ends that I was considering for this week are still available to me.
All right. Let us know that all word, Jared. Who are you choosing from here?
So I'm choosing from Joshua Simon, John Michael Gillenborg, and Cooper Mathers.
Okay.
Also, JMO, real quick, make sure you fix Parker Navarro's team logo there.
Oh, but I put his opponent there. Yeah. All right. Sorry.
I think so. We were talking about the show that I love my Wazoo wide receivers, but man, it's been very much a committee there the entire year. I think I'm going to still go for a piece of that Wazoo offense going up against New Mexico State this weekend. I'm going to go with Cooper Mathers. Find somebody who loves you like John Mateer loves looking for Cooper Mathers in the red zone, because the number of touchdowns that Mathers has on this year is absolutely insane. It actually makes me a little concerned here for some touchdown regression coming here relatively soon, but all he does is score touchdowns. Literally, if he's producing, he's scoring touchdowns. He's got 6 touchdowns in his last 6 games. And that's just pretty much all he does. He doesn't do anything in the middle of the field. He doesn't do anything between the 20s. It's just when they get down there near the red zone, Mateer's looking for his giant target there and basically confirms that Mathers is going to score a touchdown. Like I said, they play New Mexico this week. I expect Wazoo to put up at least 40 points in this game.
Oh, yeah.
Mathers is probably finding the end zone once again, just on sheer touchdown opportunities here, given the way he's been used.
Yeah, I hadn't really paid attention to him. I'll have to check him out now. It's again,
when he has a reception, he scores. So basically, is what he's saying as far as the volume.
Yeah. Volume's not great. Again, he's had 4 or less targets in each of his games, but he scored 6 touchdowns with those targets. So it's
this is a game where they should be scoring a lot of touchdowns, as you said. So I agree. All right, nice one. Okay, and what's his percentage? Willie, or Jared? Do you know?
I'm sorry. He's at 3. My bad.
Yeah,
that's me.
I mean, that's what I like here. This late in the season, some of these guys who are even above 20%, if you're in a competitive league, they're still not going to be there. I love when we can find the guys that we've got Duff at 1%, Mathers at 3%, even Dwight's tight end under 10%, Houston Thomas. These are guys you should be able to find in just about every league. When you're looking at guys, under 5% especially. So, that's what I like to see here at the tail end of the season. All right, Willie, finish off your squad.
Yeah, I thought about the stack, but
Reconsidered now.
Yeah, reconsidering that. So I didn't really care for the matchup against Air Force. So we'll go a completely different direction, and we're gonna go Adrian Norton from Akron.
Okay.
They get an NIU matchup. NYU. Wow.
We don't even have a football team. The Violets.
That would be much different.
That's my school, by the way, guys.
But he's coming. He's kind of up and down. When he doesn't score over 20, he's going to get you that 10.8. So I'm hoping that we get the over 20. But his last 4 games: 10.8, 24.8, 10.8, and then 29.8 he had against Buffalo. So he's going to get the targets. He gets decent yardage mostly. Didn't against Eastern Michigan, but I expect at least to have a decent game against NIU. And I also love the guys who are coming off the bye.
All right, I'm thinking that's the tough matchup that's going to cost you the victory against me this week. That will tie up our head-to-head record.
Well, that's what you're hoping, but that KJ Duff pick there, I'm not sure about that. So we'll see.
All right, hey, look, it's going to be a fun Rutgers Maryland game, and I like that we have players from the same team here. Like we're competing for receptions and handoffs here with the Troy running backs.
Right.
All right. Okay, Dwight, what do you got?
All right. Jared inspired me to take a risk, so let's take a risk.
Okay.
I love it.
It's not the quarterback from UCF.
No. I'm going to take a risk that Antonio Brown does not play, and I will take Telly Johnson.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I like it. Yep.
Did very good in mop-up duty. I cannot find anything new on Antonio's injury. It didn't look particularly great. He was on crutches. They do play Wednesday night, so I'll roll with Telly.
I would say if he's on crutches, that is not a good sign.
Yeah, I'm really surprised nobody else took him. Yeah.
You might have made the best point out of all that, which is they have a Wednesday game. Yep. He didn't look good coming back to the sideline on the crutches. But the fact that that's a Wednesday game, that's a big difference. Even if he was in a situation where he could play on a normal week with, the rest, like he's coming back. I know they had a midweek game last week too, but still coming back, and having to be ready by Wednesday would be tough. So I had him on my list. He was one of those guys I heavily considered. And he's actually the guy that I put in for to get rid of Dylan Carson Dillon, from Air Force. So that's the one I've got to now find somebody else to drop in order to pick up Telly Johnson in the league that I was talking about. Sweet. He's a true freshman. For anybody that hasn't paid attention, he's a true freshman that it appears has only made his way onto the field in kind of the classic move the coaches like to make, where they saved him for the last 4 games of the season or something like that, so that he would purposely not be burning a red shirt here. But kind of seems like that's the maneuver the coaches made there, saving for the very end and don't get at risk in terms of losing a year of eligibility. So Willie and I talked about him midweek and how good he looked for NIU. Good job wrapping it up there. I'll finish this off at quarterback. I'm going to go with a guy who I badmouthed on Twitter early in the season and said he would be the demise of the SMU offense, as it appeared they had no clue what they were doing there at quarterback, flip-flopping between Stone and Kevin Jennings. But Kevin Jennings has proven to be a pretty good player. So we're seeing a little later than maybe they wanted us to what the coaches saw at SMU and Kevin Jennings. He's another one of those guys that you look at the last 5 weeks, he's averaging almost 26 points a game for SMU. He's going against Boston College, who, is kind of a middle of the pack defense, passing D. They're actually 101 in yards given up. But again, you can't beat the athleticism certainly from Kevin Jennings, and he's now putting up the points to go along with that. His worst game in the last 5 weeks was 19 points, which was his last one. Every other game has been closer to 30 than it's been to 20. So I like that. Again, kind of, eating a little crow after thinking he would be the total reason that SMU finished very poorly, but they actually surprised me and bounced back a little bit after he got in a groove here.
I just figured he was over 32. I didn't even look at him either.
Yeah, he's right at 20, amazingly. So, yeah, there it is.
I'm a little surprised that you guys aren't picking up on CJ Agbana. I love the matchups that he has the last 3 weeks. He's coming off of a pretty decent game against Akron. He had 28.7. I mean, he's Buffalo underwhelms, but they have great matchups: Ball State, Eastern Michigan, and then Kent finishing up. So.
And I gotta save somebody for the waiver article next week, Willie. So.
Right. Oh, okay. All right. Sounds good.
That's what we'll go with.
Yeah. And, really what Willie was doing is helping be a good co-host and leading us into that final segment, which is, who else would you have taken if you had a couple more picks? And Dwight, we'll go to you. Do you have anybody left on your short list there that you would like to, steer people's way if you had a little extra room for a couple more players?
Yeah, I really like the way Mendoza from Cal has been playing quarterback.
Yeah, good call.
Yep.
He does have Syracuse as one of the top, not an awesome matchup, but not a bad matchup by any means.
Right.
Then I had Gabbert playing against Kent State because Kent State's a leaky sieve.
Right.
And then at running backs, I also considered Jaden Baugh from Florida. LSU does give up some on the ground, and they're going to want to try to keep the ball out of the offense's hands. So I think they'll use a lot of Baugh this week.
Yeah.
Or did they pronounce it ball? That's what I thought I heard it on TV yesterday. So
I'm not sure on that one.
Yeah, and then I also consider Raji Harris from ECU, just another guy in a really high-scoring game this week. So
yeah. And he's playing Tulsa, who Willie has encouraged people to play no matter what position a guy is. Play him against Tulsa. So that would be Raji Harris there from ECU. Jared, what about you?
At quarterback, I got Ethan Vasco. He's not been fantastic the last couple of weeks, but man, does he have himself some really nice matchups. Not just this week, but in the last 3 weeks here. I think he's a very nice little plug and play here. I'm trying to find my notes for him here. Yeah. So again, 20, 21 fantasy points over the last couple of weeks. Yeah, that sucks. But he's got Marshall this week. He should be able to run with his legs against them. The weeks after that, Georgia Southern, Georgia State, both of those defenses are just absolute garbage. So he should be able to average much higher than the 20 fantasy points he's been putting up. Big problem with Vasco is Braden Bennett, right? Like Braden Bennett and any of those running backs can possibly steal away every one of those touchdowns. He's only had 2 touchdowns in each of his last 2 games. So I'm a little worried on that front, especially with all 3 of these teams being terrible against the run.
Yep. I'm very happy to hear that. That was my plug-in guy that I picked up a couple weeks ago for the 48-team league that I made the playoffs in. I had the misfortune of having Daly from Army and Aguiar from App State, who are both on Week 12 buys. So Vasco was my plug-and-play guy that I saw a couple weeks ago would be available as a decent pick. So I've got the Jared cosign to let me know I've made a good move there to maybe advance in the 48-team league.
And then at running back, I'm kind of surprised none of us went after Amari Daniels at Texas A&M, right? With, Le'Veon Moss out for the year. Right. They're running out of guys to run at running back. I know they said Terry Busey is going to be getting more carries back there and everything, but Amari Daniels is clearly the veteran in that room back there. We haven't seen a game yet that really shows that Amari Daniels is going to get, that 20 plus touches per game that Moss was getting, but they get New Mexico State this weekend. Obviously, Texas A&M is going to want to run the ball quite a bit in that game. You may not even need 15 touches from Daniels for him to have a fantastic day on the ground there. So surprised nobody went after him there. And then a wide receiver, a couple of guys that I don't love nearly as much as a lot of the guys we took here. But, Taylor Morin at Wake Forest has that matchup against UNC this week. Cameron Shanks, I'm surprised that Willie didn't go for the 3-peat on Shanks there, even though he didn't have a fantastic game last week. He still had 10 plus targets. So, if you play him, you're just kind of coin flipping, hoping that, the volume kind of carries him for the day. And then Javon Tracy, wide receiver out of Miami of Ohio. I haven't loved going after Miami of Ohio wide receivers this year, but as Dwight mentioned, they got Kent State this week. They're going to be chucking the ball over the field, and I think it's worth taking a shot on the guy in that wide receiver room that's at least the most consistent.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, as far as yeah, I love those. Jared, Tracy, he was fourth on my list. I did have Shanks on the list. He was just a little bit further down. But one running back that I probably should have considered, but I do like Damian Taylor. So Damian, let's get the bulk of the carries here. But from Baylor, Bryson Washington, I thought somebody would take a chance on. He's coming off, I believe, a huge game before their bye. He had 26 carries, 196 yards. He had 4 touchdowns against TCU.
Yeah.
And so, they come back and they play West Virginia. So I thought he might get taken. And then Kentrell Bullock, also from Southern Alabama. And I also had this wide receiver last week, Trent Walker from Oregon State.
Yeah, I had Walker on the list also. I think it's a guy. He's had 11 targets in almost every game for at least the last 6 or 7. He's at I think one might not have hit that range, but basically getting 10 or 11 targets guaranteed. Except you're going against Air Force, which is a little tough. But I think that's one where if they're looking for a guy that much, he's still going to accumulate stats. Is that it, Willie? You got one more?
Yeah, and if I was going to take the stack, it was going to be Winston Wright Jr.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought you might go that way too. Once I realized you hold grudges against your players, and you will not be taking Sowell again because Willie is a grudge holder for sure. You guys mentioned quarterbacks, running backs, receivers. I thought tight ends. It was tight ends aplenty this week, so I'll mention those to finish us off. You got Mark Redmond at Louisville. The reason he stands out is they had a tight end go out that had been coming along. The redshirt freshman Johnson was out for the season. That's why when you can find a reason why a guy's gone up and it makes sense, it's good, nice to jump on him. And Redmond is seeing extra targets for a reason. The other tight end he was kind of splitting with is out, and he's had a good 3 last games with 11, 8, and 8. Toby Payne from Marshall has been scoring touchdowns. Not quite getting the targets, but with the exception of a 0 2 weeks ago, he's had 15, 11, 0, and then 11. So he's a guy that they're looking for near the end zone. His brother Ethan is also scoring, but I don't think you should take a chance on Ethan there at Marshall. And then lastly, Jared mentioned him. He almost took him, but didn't pull the trigger. Josh Simon he's continued to roll 14, 29, and 13 in the last 3. Somewhat tough matchup against Missouri. Looks like, according to Fantrax, they keep tight ends limited in their point production. Maybe that's why Jared went the other way, but it looks like Simon has kind of entrenched himself there as a target, for South Carolina. So I'll finish with those tight ends since you guys covered all the other positions. But want to say thanks again to Jared and Dwight, 2 of the finest from the Campus to Canton crew. Check out Jared's podcast. He drops a couple a week, starting with Monday mornings, finishing it off on Wednesday with some start-sit dilemmas. And you still doing the freak out barometer there, Jared, into the playoffs, or you're moving on past the freak out for the playoffs?
I'm debating, right? Again, God bless our awesome members, our awesome NIL members over at Campus to Canton. I basically reach out to them every week, especially as the season goes along, and just say like, hey, who do you guys want me to talk about? If there's anybody you want me to talk about, right? Like and I kind of, however many players I talk about during that segment is almost entirely based off of what kind of feedback I get from them, right? If I don't get a lot back from them, there's only 2 players, guess what? I'm only talking about 2 players that week. Sometimes I've gone up to as high as 6 players during that segment. So I'll reach out to them here probably as soon as we're done recording here, and just see like, hey, anybody you want me to talk about as we get into the playoffs? But
all right. Well, and I will mention again, because I might have sped through it in the beginning. Like, we're looking at 2 guys that finished with top 4 performances of the season. Dwight holds the point total, the high mark of 139 in his first round. Jared had 121. And as I know we mentioned, they both, topped 100 in their semifinal rounds, with Jared getting 111 and Dwight getting 109. So, these are not numbers that are fluke numbers. These are guys that know the business. We appreciate them coming. Dwight, we'll let you have the final word from the guests here. What are you going to be honing in on this week over at C2C and your work at DynastyNerds?
I'm just editing and stuff. I'm not writing or doing too much anything right now. Okay. Trying to focus on the CFF playoffs. I've made so many trade offers in the last couple weeks. It's been kind of nuts. Kind of fun though. I love it. I love this time of year. So
you
love it.
Payoff this week. All right, well that's it for me. Willie, you want to take us out of here?
Yes, sir. Guys, if we don't talk next week, I really appreciate you guys coming on and participating. Jared, especially you, I guess we're gotten to this point where we don't have to have our friendly banter as much as we used to, which kind of sucks a little bit. But we've just kind of been on the same page for a while, which that to me means that I'm actually learning something. I will say that. So thank you guys for watching and listening, and good luck this week.
Appreciate it, y'all. It's always a blast.
Good luck, everybody.